Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Hope you guys are doing well today.
Happy solstice.
Yes, we forgot to say that. Happy solstice, everybody.
Yes, it's just a glorious day, and now we could look forward to the light moving in.
Yes, the return of the light.
Yes.
We've hit the darkest spot. That would be wonderful to say, guys. We've hit the darkest spot. We're done with that. We're moving forward now. Humanity's awakening. I wish we could say that and really believe that it's quite there. But yet we will change the world one consciousness at a time.
You know, when I see these things, like we'll look at the winter solstice, for example, and it's like everybody goes, a lot of people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say everybody, but so many people go through this thing where they have that seasonal affective disorder, and it truly, truly deeply affects them. But I like to visualize this time in our life as the slingshot with the pebble, and it's being pulled back, pulled back to as tight as it could possibly ever get. And today is the day we release that pebble in the slingshot and we all fly forward. Isn't that fun?
There you go. That's one way of looking at it. So we want to thank everybody again for your support over on Patreon. This was the newest one that we put up, talking about how Star Wars kind of revealed everything, humanity's dark hidden father, and Göbekli Tepe. What's up with that? Was it the starting anew after the last big G, reset, if you know what we're talking about? Okay, let's listen to this briefly.
Is there also potential for individual nations like the UK to underwrite the shipping? In other words, if we're putting military escorts, we can underwrite the insurance and therefore the ships can get going again. The trouble is, attack is ultimately the best form of defence here, because at the moment all they're doing is putting an umbrella around the merchant shipping. What you actually want to do is stop the missiles coming in. One of the options is to attack the Houthis, but in the past what's happened is the Americans have attacked Iran because it's Iran who actually are meddling around with here. Clearly that risks escalation, but in the circumstances there's little choice if you want to get global trade moving again.
There you go. That's just how this world works. And leadership thinks, well, ultimately we just got to attack. Just expand the war, just expand the misery and the suffering. And you got to say, that's what this world system thrives on. As are we looking at the beginning of WW3 starting maybe in the Red Sea and maybe any moment now? Perhaps, it's underway already in reality. It's just like, when does it go to that next stage? This is a powder keg. In case you didn't know, Chinese warships are deployed in the Red Sea. And so are U.S. warships. So are so many different nations at the moment. This is a powder keg, and the kids are playing with matches again.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's almost amazing that nothing bigger has happened so far. So Yemen's Houthis allow Russian tankers to pass through without attacking them as they pass through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. They promised to capture or sink almost all other ships, and again, Chinese warships stationed in the Red Sea. They did refuse to assist Israeli cargo ships and ignored distress calls. So, again, it is a war situation is what we are looking at, and I think more and more people are coming to that realization. Spain has rejected a U.S. request to join the coalition on the NATO side in the Red Sea. And meanwhile, we have this very curious Chinese spacecraft emitting strong signal over North America. So earlier this week, China's top-secret space plane dubbed Shenlong released 6 mysterious objects, after reaching the Earth's orbit for the third time in 3 years. We can only hazard a guess as to what these objects, which are being tracked by U.S. Space Force, and designated the names Object A through F by the U.S. DoD, they don't know what they are or what the purpose is. Amateur astronomer satellite tracker Scott Tilley has been closely tracking the objects, examining the signals they've been emitting, and he told the South China Morning Post They appear to be sending the strongest signals when they're passing over North America. I'm seeing a pattern in its radio emissions while over me, and it appears to favor low elevation western passes, he told the newspaper. This could indicate a clandestine ground station on the west coast of North America or on a ship off the coast. To be clear, as Tilly points out, this is pure speculation as we don't even know what the objects are or how they relate to China's spaceplane. So, again, looking at what they're saying here, they're sending a signal to something on the ground or on the ocean on our west coast. And how many illegal migrants have crossed over the border? And I've seen reports of over 100,000 Chinese of military age crossing the border in recent times. Are they getting signals on when to go? Are they getting communications on when to let loose or perhaps attack military installations or just cause chaos in the civilian population? It feels like that feels like a really good possibility. So, interesting in these times because, again, we have naval assets facing off in the Red Sea as we talk. We have tens of millions of undocumented people inside our borders as we're doing this. And the reality is at least hundreds of thousands of enemy soldiers, not counting the migrants, probably inside our borders just waiting for a signal.
Right. And I mean, a long time ago, we got this information that came in where a lot of these people who are coming across the border, they already have, they have chips. And I don't mean that old show, California, with those. Yeah.
Punch and who?
Yeah, that's not the one. Those are the kind of chips that I mean. But this information came in a while ago. So this is very, very suspicious. Curious about it. We'll see what happens. But gosh, it's just things don't look good.
No, and it's interesting too because just after Christmas, there's astrological lineup that looks kind of tense around the 27th. So we'll watch that as well as that's less than a week away now. So 2024, as we've said, it looks like it's going to be just a crazy year. So this morning, over 500 illegal migrants crossed the Rio Grande into Eagle Pass. Mostly coming from Venezuela, 90% coming from Venezuela in this trip. When you look at it too, it's interesting how in waves, it seems like they're coming in waves from different areas, almost one area at a time. They're coming in groups. It's like signals. And honestly, we know what this is. These are military assets being put into place. Not every single one of them, but yes, a decent percentage is military assets being put into place. And when you look at all this that's going on, it's not just in the U.S. too, and it's ultimately the UN that's doing this. Russian raids on migrant workers, and they're sending them. This is saying that they're gathering them up and they're sending them off to fight in Ukraine. Would that surprise us? No. Of course it wouldn't. Some have even said that the same thing is going to be done in the U.S., and many of these are going to be signed up to fight for the U.S., and I've seen that from very big channels saying that. My main line of thinking has been that this is all about taking down the U.S. and NATO. Not that these guys are coming from Venezuela and then they're going to fight for us. Again, when you have in place they're all puppets. I mean, you could say puppet government, but they're all puppets. That's the bottom line. None of the presidents ever really make big decisions besides what's for dinner. And even at that, they're given choice A, B, C, or D, or what have you. The reality that people are waking up to the fact of shadow government behind the government, that's a step. Learning about things like a deep state, per se, that's a step in the right direction. But again, the realization should be that this is a war against humanity that's being done from a very inhumane high level. And all these people are ultimately suffering. Why would they leave everything? Well, they don't have anything. That's why they're leaving, quote unquote, everything, because they don't have anything, because they're suffering where they are and they're looking for a better opportunity. And in many cases, just like what we're seeing with Gaza, their homes have been blown up. Everything that they had has been destroyed in nonstop wars of one sort or another. And, again, here this one Citizen Free Press is saying they're not migrants, they're criminals. Well, yeah, you could look at it that way from one perspective, but you could also look at it and say, well, what about the war against humanity that the U.S. did on Venezuela with all the sanctions, driving people to starvation? What about what's happening over in Israel right now to a whole group of people that is being removed in one way, shape, or form? The actions that cause these people to go and do these things and uproot and leave everything and everybody that they knew are criminal actions. The biggest criminals on the planet are the governments. All of the governments. As you see this, that California Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis has sent a letter to Secretary of State Shirley Weber asking her to explore every legal option to remove 45 from California's presidential primary ballot. And supposedly the same things are going on in Minnesota and Michigan as well. Wouldn't be a surprise, as we've done videos going back to January 2018 saying they want to create a civil war before we have a Red Dawn invasion on the U.S. And again, it's not going to be far away. It's probably, you're going to see both happen in 2024. And it's not too hard to conceive of that, as you now have more than 570,000 people in Gaza starving because of the war. This is just massive. The problem is the politicians. The problem is politicians that will sell out humanity to just have a nice, cushy life for themselves. And that's who is in charge. That's ultimately who's in charge on the human side. Of course, there's a non-human side that is being revealed ever more openly every single day as you watch a white or silver orb, just like those seen by Reaper drones in the Middle East, appeared 3 times just under an hour at Los Angeles airport here. Here you go. Of course. And, the fighters in World War II reported that Foo Fighters, you might know that band, the Foo Fighters. But yet, Foo Fighters sightings were really common. Why? Because we're always being watched by extraterrestrials. Good, bad, and ugly. All of the above. One person was saying, so wait a minute, on the last video that we did, are you telling me, are these demons or are these extraterrestrials? Or are they interdimensional? They're all of the above. It's not that there's just one, it's all of the above. There are demonic entities. There are angelic entities. There's extraterrestrials. There's inner earth beings on the planet too that we don't know of openly. There's all of the above. We have life everywhere around us. We've just been living in a fishbowl thinking we're by ourselves.
Like I said, we are mushrooms in the dark, surrounded by poop. That's where we are at. I mean, everybody else knows that. I mean, the joke's kind of on us. I mean, not like me and you and Mike personally, but in humanity, the joke is on us. And, they're just having a great grand party watching us think that we are the only ones here.
Cindy was just picking up that you have both the good Pleiadians watching what's happening very closely, and then you have what we call the fallen Pleiadians that you might equate with fallen angels, but they're not angels. They are just basically, they're almost like prisoners of war now that have donned the enemy garb and are fighting for the enemy. This is a practice Rome did too. When Rome conquered a nation, they would then utilize all the able-bodied men to fight for Rome. This is the same system. Where do you think that comes from? This is where it comes from. It doesn't come from here. This is the draconian way of doing things.
That's right. We definitely have both of them. Both of them are watching. And the curiosity to me keeps going to that 2025 treaty that we got information on, that we didn't get all the information on, but we do know that there is a treaty and it's up in 2025. And I feel that we are watching it unfold now as far as what's in that treaty.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've shared, there was a time, and we shared a story from the Bhagavata Purana, talking about a person that was taken off planet, returned later on, only to find that thousands of years had passed. It kind of sucked. And, this is the reality. These stories, these wars have been going on for thousands of years. And we're in the middle of one. And the wars between those beings that we knew of as the gods, they might be very open in the skies over our heads at any time. You might see, the only way you could put it, it would look like a sci-fi alien invasion flick. And yes, we understand Project Bluebeam, but the other laugher in that is that what we have looked at all our lives up into the sky is basically, in effect, a Project Bluebeam. It's a hologram that's keeping out of our vision motherships in the atmosphere, as well as other planetary objects that are close to us that they don't want us knowing about. So, it's all been an illusion the whole time. But don't worry, be happy. Life is but a rainbow, says this little guy.
Happy solstice.
Absolutely. Much love, guys. Look forward to your comments. Stay prepared. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.